Electric car makers have been making big promises, like saying their cars won't need lots of fixing, they'll be cheap to maintain, and you can even switch out the batteries easily. But guess what? It's turning out to be the opposite of what they said. Instead of being reliable, these electric cars are breaking down left and right, and getting them fixed costs an arm and a leg. It's gotten so bad that some of these fancy EVs are heading straight to the scrapyard quicker than you can say electric revolution. Let's break down 5 reasons why this is happening. Number 5, lack of trained professionals drives up repair costs. One of the biggest promises EV makers have been giving so far is the low running cost. According to them, EVs are simpler than IC cars and therefore easier and cheaper to fix, not to mention that they are expected to be more reliable as well, which hasn't been the case so far. All in all, the short experience with EVs has taught us that electric cars are nothing like that. Instead, they're significantly more expensive to repair than IC cars for several reasons. And the first thing that comes to mind is a lack of trained professionals. Pretty much every market in the world lacks mechanics who are trained to work on electric cars. In the UK, for example, only 10% of all mechanics are licensed to work on battery electric cars, and as the number of EVs on the market rises, the problem is getting bigger. According to some sources, the UK will be short of 35,000 trained professionals once IC cars get banned in 2035. We are talking about the basic principle of demand and supply, so it was quite expected to see repair prices driving up because of the constant lack of the workforce. So if you're an EV owner, the first challenge is to find a skilled mechanic who is licensed to work on electric vehicles. But even if you find it, you won't feel any relief because when you compare the average repair prices of IC cars and electric vehicles, you'll see nothing but a drastic difference. When we talk about high repair expenses, experts like to point out various things. First of all, there's the complexity of the technology, as electric cars come with intricate electrical systems like batteries, inverters, and motors. Then there's the fact that EV repairs raise safety concerns due to the fact that mechanics work on high voltage systems that pose a risk of electric shock. Number 4, collisions usually lead to write-offs. Electric cars may feature fewer parts than IC counterparts, but that's not necessarily an advantage, and collisions are probably the best example because even small accidents can cause huge problems. That particularly refers to the battery design and its housing. Even a tiny defect may require a complete replacement due to safety concerns. Electric cars feature different structural designs compared to IC vehicles, especially battery housings, and in most cases, after a collision, it's impossible to fix just the affected part. In most cases, the whole housing or even the battery needs to be replaced. Furthermore, even relatively small collisions can lead to critical damage to major electronic components, and once again, there is no word of repairs. Replacements are the only thing possible in such situations, and if we consider the constant lack of spare parts in the EV universe, expensive repairs turn out to be just part of the issue. The second one is the fact that these repairs usually take weeks, so the whole process is not just pricey, but long and painful. Of course, insurance houses are perfectly aware of all these issues, so instead of spending tons of money on repairs, they rather choose write-offs. Even a relatively simple crash that damages the battery or other critical components of the vehicle will be considered total. Logically, this causes a chain reaction in the way that insurance premiums are yet another thing that is significantly pricier in the case of electric vehicles. Number 3, damaged Teslas instantly become commodity cars. With all the things we just talked about, it doesn't come as a surprise that most damaged Teslas end up as commodity cars. A while ago, Lee Carter from Scrap Life posted a video to show a massive junkyard full of damaged Teslas, and what can be clearly seen in this video is that most of these cars have light damage only. Normally, with IC cars, such damages would be solved in a couple of days for relatively decent money, and owners would continue to exploit their vehicles seamlessly. However, things are a little bit different with Teslas due to the aforementioned reasons, such as high repair cost, lack of spare parts, and the general lack of support that Tesla offers to its customers. Most owners rather choose to sell them for scrap value on the battery. What's also interesting is that no one wants to buy these damaged EVs and fix them, so they rather end up as commodity vehicles. And if there isn't much potential even for their commodity use, we're afraid that about 5 or 10 years from now, we'll treat used cars like used iPhones or any other consumer electronics device. Well, time will tell. Number 2, EVs are hard to fix, and it's not just about mechanics. We already mentioned that repair costs are super high in the case of EVs. Well, body damage and typical mechanical issues aren't the only reason. There's much more. First of all, electric cars require constant software updates. We're talking about software that controls various systems, including batteries, motors, regenerative braking, driver assist features, and many more. All these things need to be updated regularly, and from what we can see, online updates don't work particularly well. Instead, owners are usually required to visit dealerships to remove software bugs, and that often brings headaches to professionals because they're usually forced to wait for the manufacturer's feedback to solve the issues. And while EVs are still a fresh thing, still under warranty, we can only imagine how much these services are going to cost once the warranty expires. After all, this may be a great opportunity for dealers to compensate for the lack of oil changes and other regular maintenance things to come with internal combustion cars. The story doesn't end with software updates. Electric cars are complex with complex systems that are tightly integrated. For example, you have a battery management system that interacts with a powertrain to maintain energy flow and ensures that the battery operates within safe limits. It also communicates with the onboard computer, which controls various other functions based on inputs from various sensors and other systems. And it's such a complex system. Even a minor flaw can cause major problems. Just check all the issues that owners of the Chevy Blazer EV have been having lately because of Chevy's inability to optimize its software. Ensuring compatibility and seamless communication between different systems has been a great challenge for many EV makers, and we aren't entirely sure how things are going to look in the future after several software and firmware updates. Will a trained professional from your local dealership be able to diagnose the problem in such a complex system easily? It's going to be very challenging. Number 1, EVs are simply not reliable. Even with everything we've said so far, expensive EV repairs wouldn't be much of an issue if these vehicles are reliable. In theory, they should be because of a significantly lower number of parts compared to IC cars. In practice, this is still a fresh technology that needs years, if not decades, of polishing. And with all that in mind, it doesn't surprise that recent surveys clearly say that electric cars cause more problems than gas-powered vehicles. Once again, we can refer to Consumer Reports and its huge survey that included more than 330,000 cars produced between the year 2000 and 2024. According to this survey, electric vehicles have 80% more reliability problems compared to gasoline-powered cars, and the problems are of all kinds. Naturally, the most frequent complaints were about electric drive motors and charging components, which once again leads us to the complexity of electric vehicles, of things like the battery, electric drive unit, and their integration with all other systems in the car. Electric vehicles are new technology, and legacy car makers have been particularly vulnerable as they turned out to be less reliable compared to Tesla, which ranks near average when compared to all car makers on the market. Besides batteries and other critical components of electric cars, owners have also been dealing with infrastructural problems, not just with the lack of, but also with the frequent malfunction of public chargers, which may also contribute to the overall feeling that EVs are not worth repairs. That is clearly one of the key reasons why EV growth has slowed down. It's pretty clear that electric vehicles are not as reliable as advertised. On the other hand, what the recent survey also taught is that hybrids are the ones that show exceptional reliability scores. Of course, we're talking about classic self-charging, not plug-in hybrids. We're talking about the kind of cars that Toyota and Honda make, for example, systems that are actually quite simple and therefore less problematic even when compared to gas-only vehicles. They are actually 26% less problematic, and that may be one of the reasons, along with the obvious lack of charging and range anxiety, why hybrids are currently growing at a much faster pace than electric cars. While EVs still struggle to reach 8% of the market share, hybrids have been on a swing lately and already surpassed electric cars and now account for more than 9% of the market, retaining pretty impressive growth. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.